So now David is here, and I think he's about to join us. So as he's getting in, it's a funny story. I have to give. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I'm staying
Hello,
in shape.
David.
Hi.
Great. How's it
Trying to,
going?
trying to.
Welcome to the
Good.
Simon G Show.
Yes, otherwise known as 2 tickets to the Gun Club show.
That's right. Well, I have to give you credit where credit is due because you came up with that nickname for me. And I was thinking, okay, what should we call this IG Lives? And I was like, okay, let's call it the Simon G Show. So thank you.
You're Simon G. I'm DH.
That's right.
Yeah. What's the world without nicknames?
I don't know. But I have to say, I have to tell everyone the story. So one day, I think it was winter. It was this winter, definitely December. And I was down in the basement practicing. And here you come blasting into the room. It's like you have this like urgency. I'm like, David, what's going on? Are you okay? It's like, I have a new nickname for you, Simon G. And you were like
You're Simon G.
really excited. And then you started talking about me as Simon G in a podcast. So I was like, I guess that's it. It's the
Good.
Simon
It's
G show.
catchy. It's
Yeah.
catchy.
So anyways,
Good.
welcome. It's great to have
Thank
you,
you.
man. And I've been,
Thanks for having me.
we've been friends for a long time. And I
Yeah.
think, well,
Yeah.
first of all, you're my teacher at Aspen. And I have learned from you many things, most importantly, musical things, right? And I've got the privilege to play next to you and to keep growing next to you. But we have had a very interesting relationship because I've learned about many different things, right? We have explored.
Yeah, I think our relationship's been very symbiotic. I appreciate you saying that, but I've
Mhm.
also it's been the other way too. Just
Yeah.
I think we've learned a lot. It's been a very valuable relationship, I
Oh,
think, because I've learned a great deal, and I've got I've had the privilege of watching you grow both personally and musically, and hopefully you've seen that in
absolutely.
my side too, because
Absolutely.
we're not perfect. We're just trying to learn and get better. So
Yeah,
I
I
appreciate the
appreciate it.
kind words, though.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that. So I think you have a fascinating mind, musically speaking, and also outside of music. So I think, for anybody here, David was like super early about coronavirus. Like I still remember I was in my apartment December 30th, and I got a text from David with a YouTube link uh, that had some emissions of what it was some emissions that were just pretty much saying like, there's a lot more coronavirus in China. I actually thought you were being maybe alarmist, to be honest with you. I was
yeah.
like, are you sure, David?
My everybody did, my entire family, and I just said, well, just better to prepare. I'm more I wouldn't say alarmist. I'd rather be prepared for things, and it's better to be prepared than get caught off guard by
Mm-hmm.
certain things. And I could see this one was coming, and also I know how the media works, and I know how they suppress things, and then they'll plant a seed like something's like you remember like what was it, the murder hornets about a month ago, right? So that nothing's came, but they'll plant a seed like in case it does come out, and
Mm-hmm.
so I know how they generate clicks and views, and they get people
Interesting.
to get addicted to cable news and stuff like that. But I saw this one, and it's like, this looks pretty bad, and they were kind of not. They're kind of putting it down, like it's not. No, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And I was just like, whoa, this is going to be a big deal. I don't know why. This is.
So, sorry, what are you drinking there? Is that iced
Oh, this is
coffee?
iced coffee. Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Uh,
It's my
well,
second one.
okay. Hopefully, I didn't influence you poorly to get you addicted to coffee. But anyways, so
Well, you got me to make my own coffee, which is I appreciate that very much. So I
awesome.
still like my the McDonald's $1. You get on the app
Uh-huh.
on you get the deal of the day. You can get like this large McDonald. I like that one because it's just $1. And
Yeah.
it's I
I don't
know
do it.
you're
I don't do
you
it
I
too
know you
much.
do. It's a good one though.
Anyways, so you were early about Corona, and recently you have been doing some posts that have been really interesting. And anybody interested, you should check out your blog post recently. Uh, but they will have to look for it because you ended up exiting Facebook,
Right.
your Facebook
Yeah.
account. Can you tell us a little bit why that is? Why?
Well, sure. Basically, I got really tired of it, and I think there's just a fatigue in general about what I mentioned before about you know, the media in general, social media, and what I noticed on Facebook is that so basically I'm a very critical thinker, independent thinker, and that's not allowed on Facebook as far as I could see. So if I had a different opinion or something, everybody would just like jump on me, or even just like a small like, hey, what about this? And so I don't need that, and it's kind of toxic, and you get into this kind of bubble, which we can talk about in a little bit. You get in a sort of you get isolated, and what I've noticed in life is that if everybody agrees with what you're saying, you're probably wrong. So it's because there's so many different opinions out there. So you get isolated in a way, and becomes toxic. And I had some. I didn't have any issues with it. I just noticed that it wasn't a good place for me. I didn't want to spend my time on there. I didn't really care about what other people were saying because it's always the same message. Mm-hmm. And there was never any discussion. And if there was a discussion, it was vitriol and like I said, toxic. So mm-hmm. I had a situation where my best friend in high school, he and I, like, for one of the reasons you keep Facebook is to remember people's birthdays, and that becomes kind of silly because I just recently had my birthday, and it was just such a relief that only a few people contacted me, actually, so I didn't have to spend my whole birthday thinking, oh, you know. So that was awesome, actually. So I have no regrets. But in this particular case, it's my best friend from high school, and we have nothing in common. So he was in FFA, because we grew up in a small town in the middle Missouri, a college town, Future Farmers of America. So he's one of the the redneck crowd, and I was one of the band nerd crowds. But we were in the drum line together. We played. So he was my best friend in high school, even though we had nothing in common outside of music. And his mom. So and he moved to Chicago. He was in Chicago before I moved to Chicago. So then we got to see each other a few times, and we were in close contact very recently, and making plans to see each other again, and calling each other. And then his mom, who I haven't seen in over 30 years, because I left high school over 30 years ago. His mom contacted me through Facebook Messenger. I thought it was a joke. I mean, not a joke, but I thought it was something wrong. And she said, yeah, Kenny's dead. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And I said, well, what? I had to sit on it for a day. I just couldn't believe it. I thought it was like a hoax because I haven't heard from this. I was kind of cautious, like I was getting like scammed or spammed. So I waited an hour, and I messaged her back. I said, what do you mean? What happened? And she said, there's been an accident at the train yard. He was hit. So he works on locomotives and stuff like that. He was hit by a tractor trailer while working in the train yard. And then, so sorry to take this conversation down, but I'm going to tie it in with why Facebook is so awful. So then, of course, it's during all this virus stuff, in addition to all the trauma that's going on because of this, the virus and everything. So I tried to reach out to his wife. I couldn't. And then his mom is really upset because she said, yeah, we can't go to the funeral because of the virus. And his wife won't talk. We haven't spoken in over 10 years. So, and it's like it tears up families. Yeah. So even if something traumatic happens, or something good happens, like say a marriage or a birth of a child or something like that, or a death, these huge life events, the damage that social media has done to friends and families is just irreparable. And that was sort of a defining moment for me, that was like, wow, my friend is gone. His mother told me about it because his wife can't, get to me, and they don't talk. Anyway, I know we have a lot to discuss, but
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
no. So something that you said about is your critical thinking, and I think we're gonna connect that later to percussion and to drums. I think there's a lot of people, a lot of students here who would love to hear about how that critical thinking works as a timpani player and as an innovator. I think I believe you're an innovator in timpani. So you're getting off of Facebook and you're writing about personal sovereignty, right? Like
yes,
because and you see the sovereignty as three different things: health, financial, and I'm missing the other. What's
education.
Education.
It's health. Health is number one, because that's the most important and valuable asset that we have, is our health and time. It's because time is finite and limited. So that's number one, health, and then how you spend your time and things like that, which is another reason to get off Facebook. And then education. So every time that you can learn something, that's something that nobody can take away from you. Whatever you learn in life, nobody can take away from you. So if you're a critical and independent thinker, nobody can come and confiscate that from you. You might have like a mob try to beat it out of you, but nobody's going to do that to me.
Yeah.
So your education is something that you keep forever, and it's highly sovereign. It's basically the only things that you have in life are your choices for health and education. The health can be taken away from you like that, obviously, with virus and disease and things like that. But you can make decisions as far as getting your immune system up, and not drinking soda, and keeping a healthy diet. That's a type of thing that can hopefully prolong your most valuable asset, which is your time and your health. And then now with Web 3.0, we finally, the everyday person can have financial sovereignty. So I'm focusing a lot on the first two, and then I will incorporate a little bit of the financial side, what I'm learning as I explore deeper and deeper about the possibilities of having your own money that's not controlled by any corporation or government.
So it's interesting because the first one, the health one, and I've seen you take very seriously the health sovereignty, and from you being out you're not in Chicago right now, unfortunately, but from being in Chicago and going around Millennium Park, you don't care. You go with your weights, you go around, you do the Herbert pump, right? You put on in the winter, you put on your mask, you go, you get exercise, right? And you get primed for performing, which we all miss. And you know something that I think is very fascinating, I think, if you don't mind, let's take a quick detour. We'll come back and talk about the financial sovereignty because I want to hear about it. But if you don't mind, let's take a detour on the music field. And we were exchanging texts about this conversation recently. And I told you about your game face. And I'm surprised.
You mean this one?
Yes. I don't know. But I'm surprised I never told you about this. I discussed this with Dean Borghesani, a mutual friend, timpanist of the Milwaukee Symphony. And, I told him, like, David has this game face. And I believe the first time I really noticed it, we're doing a reading. I was timpanist of Civic, and we're doing Mahler too. I think you were sick also, but, we're good friends, so we say jokes and stuff, goof around. But then you sat behind the timpani, and you suddenly just got really serious, I'm like, I guess I better behave now,
Maybe I was just spacing out.
No, I'm pretty sure you were just like, you looked like you had a purpose. So how do you achieve this type of concentration? Because I really think that it's like you step behind the timpani and it's your world, right? Like how do you develop that type of focus?
Well, there's a famous saying about you can't see the forest because the trees are in the way, And when the forest gets really intense and it gets very thick and there's not a negotiable path, that's when I get more and more calm. So as far as like chaos and things like that, I get more in the zone. So that's, I don't know why I've always been that way, but I've always had a very calm reaction to hysteria and things that are, you know, just arbitrary, because I'm able to just focus out. So I don't even see the trees or the forest. I just see the path when it gets really intense, and then that enables me to get any other distractions out of the way, and I can see, like, the music is sort of linear to, like, time-wise, so that if you're playing a piece of music, it's not just you're in the forest, you're moving through it. So I just see the path very clearly. Even if there's not a path marked, I can see what I need to do to negotiate what's going on. So I become like highly centralized as far as a receptor. So I'm sort of in this zone of, I'm hearing and feeling and reacting to everything. And if I'm not doing that, if I'm thinking about, you know, something else, then I can't participate in that pathway. And you know, I'm more of a, in general, more of a solver type of person than a worrier. So I suppose that being in the middle of a large orchestra and having that kind of responsibility kind of calms me down in a way. That's the best way I can try to explain it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think that so one of the things I learned from you that is most valuable is how much attention you pay to the conductor, which
Yeah,
comes really handy when you're, like, you know, looking at a music director like Riccardo Muti, right? That if you look away for a second, he'll snap at you, right? So that comes really handy. And even to the conductors that are not so great, you just stare at them and you just look past them. But, well, actually, I'm kidding. I don't even know if you do that, because you really take that very seriously, communicating what the person in the podium is doing.
hmm
So
yeah,
that's one of the things to learn. And when you talk about seeing the path, that's not just when you're behind the orchestra, but I've also seen you, like, with a mission. Like I've seen you when you were practicing, I believe it was a Mason Bates piece. Like, you were like a man possessed inside the practice room, right? I don't even know if
yeah,
you were eating. Like, I just remember, like, you had your drum set up and you really focused, right?
yeah.
Uh, and
Well,
I think,
time limits will do that to you. Yeah, it's just a scheduling thing. As you know from preparing for auditions, if you have only a certain amount of time, then it goes back to the value. What is time? What is money? What is value? What is sovereignty? So that's why I'm so interested in it, I suppose, is because you have a schedule, and it's like surfing. If you're out in the ocean, you can look in the distance and, oh, there's a big set coming. Could be a couple of big weeks. You know, the surfers call it a set. Just like, I don't know if you've done that, but it's to be a series of 3 or 4 big waves, and then it'll be calm for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then another set comes in. So you can be in the middle of the calm part, which is maybe some standard rep that you already know, but in the distance you see the Mason Bates coming. So you have to negotiate that time-wise, because those waves are going to come whether you sit on your ass and do nothing, or if you practice and prepare for it. It's going to arrive one way or the other. So if I see a big set coming, again, back to preparation, it's my responsibility to make sure that I do everything I can to be prepared for those big waves crashing down on top of me.
mhm.
Big, big,
Yeah,
it doesn't wait. The schedule doesn't wait. So,
right.
and look forward to getting back to a real schedule like that.
Absolutely. I think we all are. I mean, man, I think something that gives me hopes. I think we both have a deep passion for what we do, right? For playing timpani and great music with orchestras, right? And I think it's been really, during this time, I've been wondering, like, okay, what's going to happen with, I have a couple of gigs. What's going to happen with these gigs, right? And something that is kind of reassuring I believe you like this link I posted recently on Twitter about it was Renee Fleming singing with Berlin. What do you call it? Omio Caro. It's this beautiful little excerpt. And man, it just has to come back. There's no way. There's no way we're gonna go away.
Yeah, it will. It will. I think that we're going to need.
Back.
I think we're going to need a lot of patience.
Yeah.
But it will.
Mm-hmm.
I was prepared when this happened. When we left, I immediately just thought, okay, this is going to be a year. So I figured it's going to be May or June, like a year from now, we'll be back fully. That's what I emotionally prepared for.
Yeah.
And for me, it's again, it may seem alarmist to some people, but I'd rather prepare myself emotionally and get on with my life than like, oh, you know, what am I gonna do? And you know, you can run around like Chicken Little, like the sky is falling, or you can just accept each day as it comes and make the most of it. But emotionally preparing yourself for a long haul is and having the kind of patience that's necessary to get through something like this. We've never experienced anything like this. I certainly haven't. None of us in our lifetime, unless you've been. I mean, yeah, there hasn't been a worldwide pandemic in over 100 years, I think. At least on this scale.
Yeah.
So nobody knows how to negotiate or deal with it emotionally and financially and every single aspect of it. I'm outside.
Well, good. I mean, at least you're getting some vitamin D out there. I hope, you know, with the hat and
yes,
stuff.
yeah.
Hopefully,
yes.
you still absorb a little bit.
Yeah, I wore my Ravinia hat. We should be at Ravinia pretty soon. We should be.
Should be, so, but hopefully next year, you know, being.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I'm optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think we have to remember science is good. You know, like things will, you know.
Well, there's a lot of incentive for everybody to get back to work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think they care about us individually as far as individual sovereign healthy people on the planet, but the money people, they're going to need their money.
Yes.
So you need to get that machine back up and running.
Yeah. So that's probably going to connect us back to, you know, when you're talking about time and being focused, it's probably going to be a relief when, you know, maybe you'll still be out of Facebook when we come out of this pandemic, right? And
probably, yeah.
You probably won't be getting pissed off. I'm actually kind of upset right now. I just was promoting our show on Tiffany Shop Talk, and it got taken down. I don't know why. I don't know. So the gatekeepers, you know. So anyway.
Yeah, see, that's a great point. You know what? I'm pretty easygoing. I think I am. Would you say I am, or I don't know? Because I can't. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty easygoing. But one thing that really sets me off is what people tell me, what to think, what to do, how to act. I mean, I know when I'm being a good person or I'm being a bad person, right? I know, and nobody's perfect. I know I make mistakes, but I try to learn from them and I try to get better. And once people start telling me, oh, you can't do this, or you have to stay inside. I remember my greatest wish would be go back to first grade when everybody was misbehaving in the classroom, and then the teacher would go over and turn off the lights, and everybody, for some reason, put their heads down on the desk, and it got immediately quiet. It was like, oh my gosh, they turned off the lights. You know, I wish I could go back in time to like kindergarten or first grade and just go. You know, just rebel, and it's sort of like they don't know what's going on. Obviously, they don't know what's going on. You got to stay inside. It turns out that staying inside is the most unhealthy thing you could possibly do, and the people that are getting sick are the ones that are staying inside. And you know, it's just if you look at the facts and figures, this is why critical thinking and independent thinking is frowned upon, because everything's turned into this political stuff and all this bias. So you can be sure if the person I can be sure if the person in the White House was a Democrat and saying, hey, you need to go outside, then Fox News would be saying, the conservative would be saying, no, we need to stay inside. And then the liberal, which are all the tree-hugging people that are liberal and free, they would be going, no, we need to go outside. So it's the exact opposite. So it all depends on like, and you're getting manipulated to such a high degree in this, with, so anyway, back to the point, I really don't like it. And the Facebook thing is like, oh, you can't think that way. Well, excuse me, I can think any way I want. So bye. So we did some data mining on before I left. And it was kind of interesting because what Facebook does and all these social platforms, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but even Robinhood is a social platform. So I've been doing it. So they find out, what everybody's doing and the trends are, and then they'll go against that and screw everybody. But yeah, sorry, I got carried away there. But I wish I could go back in time and and say, no, I'm not staying inside, or no, I'm not putting my head down on the desk. Don't tell me what to do. I can think for myself. I wasn't talking. It's not my problem.
So we could go different routes here. So you mentioned Robinhood. It's kind of interesting. We both, talking about friendship. I kind of learned to invest a little bit from you, a little bit of money I had on Robinhood, and then Facebook. It just reminds me a little bit of like how it builds this like two camps, and it even happens in the Tiffany world. Like I still remember when some guy was talking about your mallets, some German guy was talking about your mallets. Being like super heavy. Like
they're not.
It's like, oh my God, this American guy who plays with American mallets are super heavy. But actually, you were talking about this in the Art Percussion podcast. You were saying how you came up with those mallets because you wanted the pure sound of bamboo, but you wanted it to be even, right?
Consistent, So what's wrong with there's nothing wrong with that. It's like you get all the basically I made something that didn't exist. And I think it was John Beck had some carbon fiber stuff out, but it was straight, and I wanted to combine the sort of bamboo thing with the turned wooden handles, which are, for those people that are not timpani player percussionists, they're tapered and they're sort of weight forward. So I wanted to combine that. So that's why I came up with what I came up with. So it combines the best of both worlds, and it has the sonic clarity, and you get the consistency that you can't get in the natural world, which is very difficult to get in the natural world. So you get one piece of bamboo and another piece of bamboo, they're not going to be exactly alike. Well, neither is carbon fiber, but the parameters are much narrower with the carbon fiber. So that's all.
Yeah, but something I'm seeing here in general, I'm connecting a couple of things, right? We're talking about, we'll talk a little bit about Bitcoin and maybe like how you see money going, but now connecting that to like timpani mallets, which is you have innovated with timpani mallets, right? And would you say that, I would say that's a big innovation, right? You made the carbon fiber really popular.
I know it was big because everybody tried to copy it.
Well, a lot of people use them still, including me, and even if
which, by the way, I'm very honored and flattered that people would have done that. That means it was a success. So regardless of if you whatever, I'm just glad that people really understand the value of having that kind of consistency and clear tone projection.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're okay with being on front of things, or in the front of innovation, right? Like you're not saying, oh, I'm just going to play on my Yamaha drums. I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to, or I'm just going to play my Ludwig drums. I'm just going to sit here, but you're like, and also didn't you help design your lights drums?
Yes. Yep. I went to, I knew I was somehow in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to need to generate more sound, better sound, more power. And I thought about it really hard, and I figured, okay, well, what if the frame was part of the instrument? And so what do I mean by that? Well, typically on normal timpani, it's either aluminum or steel. And steel and aluminum do not conduct acoustic energy in the same way that brass does. So that's why we have brass instruments, and the copper element it conducts heat and acoustic energy and the energy in general. Oh, cool.
Are they coming to pick you up? Is that are they
No,
coming to pick you up?
I always
Oh,
smile when I hear an airplane because I love airplanes.
yeah.
I'm like a little kid, and lately there haven't been very many airplanes in the sky. So when I see one, I get this stupid grin on my face.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what I did with the instruments is I asked Marshall to make a frame out of bronze. Like he decided on a silicon bronze, and he said, "Well, David, this is going to be really heavy." I said, "Yeah, I don't care. Well, it's going to be really expensive. Those materials cost a lot of money." I said, "I don't care. I want it." And he said, "Well, they're going to look really pretty once we polish them." And I went to the
Maybe
I went to the
you're like the Elon Musk of the timpani. You know, you're like you don't care.
dude, no. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. If timpani's like the caveman of the orchestra, I'll be the Elon Musk of the caveman of the orchestra.
Okay.
That's quite a compliment. But I went to the factory, or to the. It's not a factory. It was just a workshop where the brothers work. They make everything by hand. That's also why I chose them. And sure enough, all those components, the bronze components, they looked really, really ugly when they came back from the metal former. And then he just polished them down, and it's like, whoa, this is better than I expected. And then the sound was better than I expected. So again, it hadn't been done before. I think some of the original Dresden drums used to be quite heavy, but these are even more substantial and more, the precision of the machining is such at a higher. They're the best instruments that have ever been made. I'm very, very sure of that, and I knew I was on to something when I got them back. And it felt like they were plugged in. Like it felt like, so normal timpani, you play on them and they kind of respond, they make some sound. Good sound, the better the instrument, the better the sound. But these actually felt and sounded like there was some sort of electric current going through them. And it was so immediate, and I could notice it all the way down to Niente, could hear projected all the way to the back of the hall. I could play so soft, unbelievably soft, and the sound would just would get there. And then as long as I relaxed, the louder or the bigger I play, I don't like that word loud, but the bigger I play, it's just, you can't overplay them. There's just, the sound just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I have what I really lucked out with on this idea is I have the access to an incredible amount of nuance and power at my disposal, which as a timpanist is what more could you ask for? I might have to move inside. Maybe it's that dust storm from the Sahara.
Oh, maybe.
Right? Isn't that the latest thing?
Yeah.
The latest little fear thing? Man, I actually, secretly, I kind of like watching cable news, but I switch. There's only one show I really, really like. And
what is it? Let me guess. Hannity? I'm just kidding.
No, he's the worst. No, actually, believe it or not, it's the guy right before him, Tucker Carlson. He's hilarious. And he's but he's really smart. Like, people don't realize how smart. He's really smart. And of course, they're all highly paid. This just puppeteers. They're not. They're just like spokes. It's like Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. They have writers and they just go. It's not. None of that stuff is their actual ideas. They just have to convince people that it is. But yeah, he's funny. He's got some really good takes sometimes. Sometimes his show is lame, but I like to check him out. And then so that's on the Trump is Good channel, right? And then I'll switch over to the Trump is Bad channel, and they'll have the same exact story, but they've spun it to the bias to polarize people and create like this racial tension. It's same exact story. And I told, I didn't tell Jung-im, I mentioned to Jung-im, this is over a month ago, we were in Oregon. We were, what do you call that when you have to isolate? Quarantine.
Quarantine.
Yeah, because I wanted to take care of my parents. I wanted to see my parents, and I was determined. Again, it's like, you have to stay at home. It's like, nope, I'm going to go see my parents. Like, well, how are you going to do that? Everything's closed. I don't care. I'm going to go see my parents. So we don't even have a car. We rented a van, and we drove to Oregon, which is about a 10-hour drive from where they live. And so nobody was sick there. And so we quarantined, made sure, and then we got tested, and we drove down to see my parents, and we stayed with them for over a week, and that was great. So I'm really glad that I did that, because again, I couldn't stand people saying, no, you have to stay inside. It's like, nope, no, I'm not going to do that. But we were in Oregon, and we were watching the Trump is Bad channel, and they had this story, and then we switched it over to the Trump is Good channel, and they had the same story, but they were switching the bias to create this unbelievable racial conflict. And I said to her, they are trying to start a race war. They are deliberately trying to start a race war. I could see it. I was convinced. And then there's just building and building, all this kindling every night. Same story, different bias. Same story, different bias. It's like 60% truth and 40% bullshit. And then the only way you can find the truth is to have independent thinking, fact check both sources, and then turn the Venn diagrams of 60-40 so that you get a 20% wedge of where they actually interlock and they're saying the same thing, and then you find the truth. But it takes a lot of independent research and thinking to. So it's like cable news is nothing more than just a sensationalized bullshit. Make you want to it's like entertainment. It's entertainment. It doesn't offer any news, it doesn't offer any value, it's a complete waste of time, and it's a distraction. It gets you distracted away from the real problems of the world, because it turns you into just like a mush brain, pointing fingers at everybody. Well, I'd be okay if it wasn't for those damn radical liberals. And oh my gosh, they have guns, like,
yeah,
it's all this bias and the way they try to. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm too much coffee.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, I'm just thinking. I actually just want to go back a little bit about your Tiffany story. Maybe in this way, I won't be kicked out of the Tiffany Shop Talk story, but anyways, let's just go back to.
Who cares about this? That's a toxic group too.
Okay. Anyways,
they get so many blowhards in there. I can't believe how many blowhards are in there. They think they know like everything. They don't know anything. Most of them don't know anything. And it's supposed to be educational. So I would get in there, I'd like make some jokes, and that got old pretty quick. And people, man, one guy got really upset at me, some Austrian guy, because I made some joke. He's like, "You're not taking music seriously." He's like, "Nobody takes music more seriously than I do. Don't tell me what I think and what I do and what I don't do. It's just because you're Austrian and can't take a joke." Like, oh, that's.
Well, I can attest to that because of the game phase. I tell you, you're very serious behind the Tiffany. But, we'll go back to that because you ended up having to block someone because gonna like someone who was like just saying your mallets are heavy and all this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't block that person. I block people that tell me what to do or how to think or what to think and yeah, I my block list. So we did some data mining before I left, right?
Yeah.
And so Elliot, my younger son, I had him go on there and I just showed him my friends list, and we went through and we did demographics with it. So I don't know, either I'm a misogynist racist or Facebook just doesn't give me any opportunities to. So, the demographics obviously worldwide, gender, male, female, in between does pretty neutral, but the as far as like black people, I didn't have very many black friends. Of course on Facebook I never got, the whole time I was there, never one pro-Republican anything. I get occasionally some libertarian stuff on there, but it was all just left wing. and that's
Well,
no
they
way
know what to feed
to
you. They know what to feed you. You know.
yeah, I guess so. So I'm definitely not racist, and I'm definitely not misogynistic, and I'm definitely colorblind. I don't even know. Like I had to look right now at your face because I don't even know if you wear glasses, and I know that you do, but I don't see it. Now, if you did something really strange, like a behavior thing, I would notice it like that. But you can ask my wife. She said you're just completely oblivious to people of uh, uh, color, age, all that stuff. Any kind of discriminatory thing that's a visual thing. I'm so oblivious. So. But behavior stuff, I'm very acutely aware of behavior, like little ticks, little things that somebody might do. Like I associate people with their personalities, not their skin color, or their age, or gender, or anything like that. But so I know I'm not in that way, and then yeah, it's just. It's like a.
I think in general, what we're concluding is that you're making a wise decision by taking off from Facebook, right? Just
Yeah, for me, yeah, everybody's different.
Right.
There's a lot of uh, stuff on there that's just not worth my time, and I don't want to get upset about. I only have one thing that really upsets me is that's when people tell me how to act and what to think and what to do, and that happens all the time on Facebook. It's like you have to vote for this person. It's like, first of all, my vote in Chicago doesn't count at all, and it's because it's Chicago, and if they don't get the way they want the vote to come out, what I mean the politicians and the people that the politicians work for, who are the wealthy people in this country, they just change the maps. So this gerrymandering. So I encourage anybody that thinks I'm full of garbage, just look up gerrymandering Chicago. Look at the map. It goes by street, by block, and like this. So depending on where you live, your vote has already been done and accounted for. So anything else that you're seeing to polarize you, like you have to do this and you have to do that, that's all a distraction. My vote in Chicago doesn't count. Now, however, if I lived in like a border county outside of Ann Arbor
Detroit.
or something like that, Ann Arbor, Detroit, then my vote would have a exponentially greater power. But because I live in downtown Chicago, my vote doesn't matter at all. I still vote. I'm not lame, but don't tell me that I have to do this and I have to do that. It's not going to make any difference at all, and it's not my problem. It's not my problem. It's not my fault. But I can be a critical thinker and realize that, hey, look, it's just a fact. If you don't like facts, then I'm sorry. You don't belong in my. You're wasting my time. And that's what happens on Facebook all the time. This mantra: you got to do this and you got to do that. Don't tell me that.
Yeah. Just sorry to interrupt, David. We got 15 minutes, right? So.
Oh my God.
I actually, I want to go back to the conversation. We're talking about the timpani, right? So you helped design the lights timpani, right? And I know you want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin and financial sovereignty too. We don't have to.
No, we don't. If anybody wants to ask me, about that,
question.
They can reach out to me personally.
And David, before we may run out of time, so why don't you tell us really quick the blog that people should follow? What is
Oh, it's just Herbert Music. It's on WordPress.
And there's Herbert Music.
Yeah, and then my YouTube channel is In Tune with David Herbert, and my wife and I are doing the show together. It's called Sovereignty Today. We only have 2 episodes in there, but we're as long as she wants to do it. I mean, I think she's great. We're going to continue because she makes her own kefir, granola, chocolate. Granola is like ridiculously good, and she's really very pragmatic and practical when it comes to money. And I'm just learning so much from her. as far as like on a daily basis, is just this kind of survival and how much I appreciate her and what she's doing, and she's just amazing in every way. So I'm learning a lot by that. But that's that can be found on the blog Herbert Music or in Tune with David Herbert on YouTube.
Yes. So everyone should, you know, if anybody listening wants to, you know, get in tune and see what David thinks about sovereignty, financial sovereignty, health sovereignty, etc., check that out. You know, I encourage everyone. Yeah. And just I want to go back a little bit to, you know, you help design light drums. Another thing that you're known is, or I'm not sure if you're known, but more people should know about this, is the piccolo drums you help design.
Oh yeah. We extended the range upwards beyond. So typically on a set of timpani, you have 2 octaves of range. So the C, middle C, and then the bass clef, the C below the staff, that would be the maximum range. And what we did was, again, with Marshall Light, is we designed individual drums that could be tuned very precisely, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, all the way up to A and B flat above the staff. And then I had to work with a metal fabricator to design a stand rack system that was curved and divisible in 3 parts, so that, because the setup was so, this is all like trial and error. Like I made these drums and then I had this kind of look like Tinker Toy construction set, like this is not going to work. And it needs to be fast, you know, you have to have it like preset. So I worked with a metal fabricator to make a stand that's really solid, but not too heavy and could be easily dispersed in a stage change. So everything happens like it's trial and error, but I had a very clear concept of how the instruments were going to work. And basically there's no internal mechanism, the tuning mechanism is done on the outside. So if you take the head off the drum, the whole thing falls through, similar to like the rims technology on the drum sets. I forget what company was doing that, but the drums are suspended and there's no internal mechanism, so that way they're freely able to resonate to their maximum, because the resonance gets shorter as you go up higher and higher, as we all know. Like the big timpani drums will boom, like rings forever, and then gets shorter and shorter as you go up. Yeah.
So
that one.
So you who came up with that idea of expanding the range of the drums? Was it Bill when he was composing the piece?
No, that was my idea, because I wanted him to write a second concerto, and he said that there wasn't enough musical material, and I said, well, you know, the instruments have their constraints. They're all about power and dynamics and resonance and that kind of thing, but there's generally not a lot of melodic information that can be gleaned from a set of timpani unless you're some sort of wizard, right? And then what I said to him was, like, what if we extended the range upwards? And he said, well, is that possible? And I said, yeah, I think I know a way to do it. And he said, well, build me 2 drums, or have 2 drums built, bring them back. So I had an 18-inch and a 16-inch individual drums. I went to his house and showed him, and they sounded great. And he's like, okay, we're on to something. He said, how high do you think you can go? I said, well, the 16 is still responding up to an F sharp. I think if we made a 14, we could get G, G sharp, and A, possibly B flat. He goes, so great, let's do it. So then I had to pay for and have them all built. And then he wrote a warm-up piece, because these instruments hadn't existed before. So he wrote me a short 2-minute warm-up piece called Octopus, which is available on the CD and the recording through Laurel Records, by the way. We recorded the Kraft Timpani Concerto No. 2, and then they have the historic recording of with Tom Aiken's the Kraft Timpani Concerto No. 1. So I'm not on the first concerto, but I recorded the second concerto, and the Octopus piece is on there. So he wrote the Octopus piece in order to hear what the instruments were going to actually sound like. That way he could interpret that sound and the abilities into the concerto. So as I said, those instruments hadn't existed before, so how do you write for something that doesn't exist without hearing it? So he wrote me the warm-up piece, and then he was able to, once I played that and recorded that for him, then he had the acoustic material and all the possibilities So he wrote, and since then, some other wonderful pieces have been written for.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Mason Bates piece. There's a Robin Holloway Concerto for Orchestra No. 3. There's Alex Orfali wrote a concerto for me, and I've been able to do a lot of different fun things for this and kind of expand the repertoire, expand the limitations of the instrument in a way that hadn't been done before. So thank you for bringing. I had forgotten about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No,
right.
that's awesome. I mean, I'm just trying to connect. I'm trying to put out the brain of David Herbert out there. How you're thinking forward.
I think
forward musically and in other aspects. Including actually cryptocurrency.
It seems to me that it's coming down to one umbrella theme of your show with me today, is that I don't like it when people tell me that something is impossible. That
Right.
pisses me off.
Good. Well,
so if Bill Kraft says I can't write another concerto for you because it's impossible, there's not enough, okay, well, what about this? I'll find a way to make it possible. So
yeah. Or Marshall tells you cannot do that. It's too heavy. No, I don't care. It's too expensive. I don't care. Good.
And it turned out, oh man, I'm so glad I have this because I need every increment of power with that orchestra.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so weird how everything I've done it's all not ironic, it's almost like a happenstance that everything I've tried to accomplish in my career has set me up to succeed or at least complement with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Because if I hadn't developed my own sticks, if I hadn't developed my own instruments, I'd just be slugging away in the back and making a bunch of noise. But with the combination of the sticks and the instruments and everything that I've learned so far, especially going to Chicago and really learning about sound production, and because I have to keep up, the level is just so much bigger. It's not louder, it's just bigger. So I had to really learn a lot and get my game up to a whole nother level. But if getting your game up is great, but if you don't have the tools, sorry, I'm spitting. If you don't have the tools to help you, assist you to get your game up, it makes it much more difficult. So I had the tools there, and then it was just up to me to develop my technique so that I could complement the orchestra in a very positive and helpful, meaningful way. So just extremely lucky to have those instruments.
Yeah. Something I really admire is that you really work on those tools too. I've learned a lot from you clearing heads. Every time I'm downtown Symphony Center, I hear someone clearing heads. So I pick my head in, and I don't know if anybody works as hard as you tuning drums, like clearing the heads, right? And it really pays off, man. And it's just a shame that concerts are not happening right now because the Chicago Symphony, they got, like, you guys got Esteban on trumpet recently, David Cooper, like the brass section is kind of back in full force, and it's just a shame. Also, weren't you supposed to play a concerto with the orchestra this year, or
in January?
Yeah,
in January. Yeah, the Kraft first concerto with our music director.
I really hope it happens.
Well, what were you just saying about? There was something you were saying. About
working on your tools, working on your.
Oh, the clearing. Yeah. So here's what I'm interested in now. Now that I finally can do it very reasonably and very efficiently, so I take it up to another level. Now I want to be able to teach it, because nobody can teach clearing. But I'm working really hard to be able to explain it in such a way and teach it in such a way that people can understand and my students can get better and better at it. Because it's a process. It's like knowing what to listen for. It's almost like a car mechanic can just listen to some, like the traditional combustion engine and just know exactly, okay, that the timing belt is off, or the fuel pump is off just a little bit. So it's critical, independent thinking. No gauge, no drum dial, no tools. It's just like, I hear this, I'm going to fix it. I hear that, I'm going to fix that. And to be able to explain that in a pedagogically concise and just a way that people can understand is my next goal. Because I figure once I get really, really good at clearing timpani heads, once I do myself.
Once you do, which
really,
I actually think you're really good. But yeah.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Well, but once I finally like master it, that's probably, you know how life goes. That's probably when I'll start losing my hearing. That's how.
Anyway.
That's life.
Yeah.
It's work.
Actually, that connects really nicely. Oh my gosh, we only have 3 minutes, but connects nicely to Leo's question about the final round. So just to give a little context to anybody that doesn't know the final round is the summer little week workshop that David started through the Civic Orchestra, in which a lot of people close to getting jobs, right? People who are taking auditions and making it to the final round, come into this workshop to work with David to refine our craft, right?
And
so,
Vadim.
And
Vadim. Yeah.
And so David was asking, Leo was asking, is that going to happen this summer?
No. We can't even go on. Another reason why I'm not in Chicago is because the association has such feckless lawyers, and they're so preposterously wimpy. They won't even let the people that live in the building go up on the open air roof, which, by the way, is the safest place in the entire building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're paying like all this HOA dues for this community area on the roof, which is completely open air. You get some sunshine, get some fresh air, and they're so feckless is the right word. They're so worried about, oh, well, somebody's going to go up there and get sick, and then we're going to get sued. So we all have to stay in our little units, you know, our little apartments. It's just ridiculous. So
yeah.
Sorry.
But somebody told you what to do, and you were like, don't tell me what to do. I don't like when you tell me I cannot do something, so you left. Anyways, we have a minute,
and I'm taking care of
minutes.
I'm taking care of myself and my family. Yeah. So if I can't take care of myself, then I can't take care of my family. You always heard that you can't love others unless you love yourself. I think there's something to that. Yeah. It's okay to be selfish now and then, but only if it's a means to take care of other people and to learn and grow. Mm-hmm. Because it's the most valuable thing you have is yourself. So if you don't take care of that, how can you give to others?
Yeah. David, we have a minute.
Okay. TikTok.
Before you say, your last words, you know, I just want to say thanks. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again.
Looking forward to seeing you. Yeah.
Thanks for the inspiration. Keep on innovating, please, and keep on, you know, sharing your thoughts. Yeah.
Let's do it again, number one, if you want. And number two, thank you. You're providing a lot of value with your time, and your content is very, it's very meaningful, very relevant. And I appreciate you asking me all the questions about my favorite subject.
Well, I don't think I actually got. Did I get there? I'm not sure if I got there.
It's a joke. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you, everything that you're doing and bringing content and educational and spirit, and hopefully I didn't get ice.
No, you didn't.
Too much. Okay, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take
Probably tonight. Okay.
Sounds good. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.